Today we're going to look at assembling multiple parts together. So far we've only been drawing one part at a time. Okay, so the first thing we're going to create a little assembly called the cube, and I'm just going to get some little blocks and just go through the assemble commands to see how they work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to save the file, and we're going to call it cube assembly. And at the moment we've got just a one block icon that just shows us that at the moment this file is a part on its own. So what we need to do here is to create a new component, and we're going to call this component cube, and it's just going to sit inside of our cube assembly. So now what happens is at the top this has changed to multiple blocks and has become an assembly, and here's our first part down here called cube 1. And notice that we can toggle between the assembly and the part itself. So at this point we just need to make sure that we're inside the cube. Then we're going to go ahead and sketch. We're going to sketch a 30mm rectangle using the center point to give us a square. So 30 tab 30. Finish the sketch, and then we're going to extrude that. We're going to go symmetrical overall distance 30mm, so it's going to go up and down 15, and we're going to hit OK. Just going to scroll out a bit. So what we've got now is a cube inside our assembly, and it's 30mm on all three sides. At this point we're going to apply some material to it. So we're going to right click over cube 1, click on physical material, scroll down inside metals, and we're going to pick gold. If I can find it in the list, there we go. So you left click, hold, drag that material onto your part. Okay, so this part now has the physical properties of gold. So right click properties, it's just telling us some information about the part. If we click in the physical tab, you see that it's got a mass of 521 grams. So now you know a 30mm cube of gold weighs just over half a kilo. Okay, so we're just going to go back up to the assembly now. Okay, so back up at the assembly point. On cube now, we're just going to right click and ground. So what this has done is this is like physically nailed this part into our assembly, so it will not move. Whenever you're doing assemblies, you just need to make sure that one thing is pinned down, otherwise everything will move all over the place. And again, at this point we're just going to hit save. Right, so what I want now is a second cube, so I'm just going to right click on the first cube, copy, right click, paste, and now I've got a second cube which is directly on top of the first cube. So look, I've got cube 1 and cube 2, and they're both sitting on top of each other. So for now I'm just going to slide the second cube off and out to the right and hit OK. So now I've got two cubes. If I right click on cube number 2 and click material and go and find something like, there's a nice coloured aluminium there. Okay, so we've got red anodized, and drop it onto the second cube, you'll notice that the first cube also changes. And what I've done here is change the material of the part from gold to aluminium. So I'm just going to click off of that and just undo that. So, and now they're back at gold. Now if I want this part to be a different colour but still be gold, What I actually need to do is to change its appearance, not the material. So I can click on appearance, and again I can go and find inside the metals aluminium, and I can drop that aluminium, but this time it's only the colour it's applied to. It's like taking that lump of gold and spraying it with paint. So doing this just to, I mean, you probably wouldn't do that, but we're just doing this so that you can see the difference between those two cubes. Right, now what we want to do is attach this block to the side of this block. So we do that through this button here called joint. It is down here and got the keyboard shortcut J, but you can click it either way. So what it wants us to do is, on the first part, which it's highlighted itself, is to pick a face and like a point of which it's going to join. Now the best way to find out what this does is just by clicking on a face and clicking on these various points, and in a second you'll see what happens. But I know I want this face onto the one on the other side, so I'm just going to pick this middle one. If it's a bit hard to select, you can just click on the face and then click on the control point, or if it's a bit easier you can just do it all in one go, so it's just dropped onto that control point now. Okay, now it wants me to select the other cube. I'm just going to spin it round and I'll do the same on the other side. Okay, so at the moment it's going a bit crazy. So what it's actually doing, where I've been playing with it, it's going through all the options. So let's just go back that way around. Okay, so the first one is rigid, which means it stays in the same orientation it was when we brought it in and just locks them together. The second one is revolve, and this is where the control point comes in, because I picked the center of these two faces, you see it's actually spinning around them. I can change the axis and it is still spinning around that control point, but you just need to change the axis into the one you want. Now, ultimately we do want this rigid one, but we'll just go through the others and check. So this one slides along that axis, slides and rotates. This one's called pin slot, so it just moves along a set line. This one sort of goes all over the place, and this one just totally sort of 360 around that control point. So I suggest at this point you just have a play with these control points, picking corners, midpoints and stuff like that, just to see how it works. That's the best way. But for this one we're going to select a rigid one. It does that little shimmy and it's got the symbol here. You can change them here as well. Okay, so let's just zoom out a bit. I want a third cube now, so I am just going to copy it and paste it. And again, it's because I copied number 2, it's sitting on top of number 2, so I'm just going to slide that one out of the way. And again, I'm just going to change its appearance, its colour, just so it just makes it a bit easier. Let's come down the list. Blue one, so it's still gold, but this time it's been sprayed blue. Now what I want this one to do is I want it to sort of pivot around this edge here. Okay, so select the joint command. This time I'm going to click on the, I could click on the face and then the edge, but I want to pick on the edge and then that midpoint, and then do the same on this side. Okay, so this is the rigid. Again, we'll just go through these quickly. So this is the action I actually want, revolute, but you get slide, cylindrical, all the options again. But this time I want revolute. And I'm just going to hit OK. So what happens now is if I move this, it spins. Okay, but it has ghost-like properties. Now, this is where the software gets a bit clever. If we know that these are solid blocks and we want them to hit the red block so it doesn't move anymore, I need to create what's called a contact set. And I could just turn everything into a contact set, but it just means that the computer's always working out if every part is hitting something else. And in large complex assemblies, that isn't good for our computers. So what we actually want to do is enable a contact set. And up here we've got contact sets now. And what we want to do now is inside of this is right click and create a new contact set. And all it's doing is saying, don't calculate everything, just calculate these two parts only. So they're now in a contact set. So as I move it now, it bonks into the other part and it knows it won't move. Okay, at any time you can turn it off and then turn it back on again. So I'll just leave it like that. Now, if I wanted this angle, this part up at a set angle, what I can actually do is just jump into here, right click, edit joint, and I can update this angle here. So it went 45 degrees and went down, so I just go minus and that'll go up. If your red cube moves instead of your blue cube, you just need to pick these points again in the opposite order to what you did it before. The computer just works out which one was the first part, which one was the second part. So if yours is the red cube moves, then just cancel it and select the parts in the other fashion. Okay, so now this block is at 45 degrees. Okay, so we're still up here in assembly, but what I want to do this time is add another feature to this blue part. So I'm just going to come down in my tree and just activate this blue component. So the other one's been greyed out now. So what I want to do is create a sketch on this face. Just reverting positions. Revert and capture positions is when you've moved stuff. You can capture that new position, but we always just revert back to the ones we've set in the tree. Anyway, so I just want to draw a 20mm circle, finish the sketch, and extrude it. But what I want to do is cut. So I'll just slide it the other way, and I want it to go all the way through. Now, you will notice that the sketch and the extrusion have appeared on the other parts because they are all the same part, just 3 different copies of it. So it's 1 cube colon 1 colon 2 colon 3, just means the same parts, and we've got 3 instances of it. So there we go, I've added a hole to all of the parts. So now I'm just going to jump back to the assembly, and now I'm going to create another component, create new component, and we're going to call it pin. And by default it's going to activate it straight away. So here we go. So I'm going to drop down into here. Again, I'm going to sketch on the XY plane. I still want to use this center point that we created before and just sort of forget about the parts you can see underneath. So once again, I'm going to create a 20mm circle. I'm going to extrude that straight up 30mm. And another sketch on the top, and on top of this one another circle at 25mm. Finish the sketch, and I'm going to extrude both the outside bit and the inside bit just up 5mm. Okay, again at this point I want to apply a material to the whole part. And we're going to do a plastic this time. So close metals, open up plastics, and go down to find carbon fibre reinforced plastic. Left click, hold, drag, and let go. It's just got some texture on there now so we can see it moving. And again, I'm going to move back up to the assembly. So although I drew it there, it will move. What I want to do now is put this pin into this hole. So again, we're going to do joint. So it's pre-selected the pin first. I'm just going to spin it around till I can see underneath it. I'm going to pick the bottom of that hole, and then I'm going to pick the bottom of the hole here. Now if it went the wrong way round, which it does sometimes, you can just pick the flip button. It just flips it round, but now it's doing what I want. Okay, so now I've put that pin in the hole and you see it spins, and that is because it's still left on Revolute. Now always remember what you did last, so if you did a rigid before, then that pin won't move. So just bear in mind, just to double check what motion was set before. Okay, so we want another pin now. Copy, paste. Again, it went straight on top of the other one. So this time what I want to do is I want to get the round part of this cylinder touching the flat face, and that's actually a tangent, and there's a special button for that now, and it's called tangent relationship. You just need to pick something flat, something round. Okay, so now that this part, so I'm just going to go revert. Get it back there. Revert position. Now to stop it flipping, what I want to do is keep these tops flat. So I'm going to create a new joint, select the top of this one and the top of this one. Remember it was on revolve before. I think it's not slider, planar. It's upside down. We'll just flip it over, and now it should be tangent to that face and just in line with the top, stop it flying off. Don't forget to save it, and that's how we go about creating assemblies.